The eyes are windows to the soul.
The eyes are windows to the soul.
Los ojos son las ventanas del alma.
The eyes are windows to the soul. He had a strong jawline.
He had a strong jawline.
Tenía una mandíbula fuerte.
He had a strong jawline. Her smile lit up the room.
Her smile lit up the room.
Su sonrisa iluminó la habitación.
Her smile lit up the room. The heart pumps blood throughout the body.
The heart pumps blood throughout the body.
El corazón bombea sangre por todo el cuerpo.
The heart pumps blood throughout the body. His fingers danced across the piano keys.
His fingers danced across the piano keys.
Sus dedos bailaban sobre las teclas del piano.
His fingers danced across the piano keys. She had a scar on her cheek from a childhood accident.
She had a scar on her cheek from a childhood accident.
Tenía una cicatriz en la mejilla de un accidente de la infancia.
She had a scar on her cheek from a childhood accident. The brain is the command center of the body.
The brain is the command center of the body.
El cerebro es el centro de mando del cuerpo.
The brain is the command center of the body. He had a deep, resonant voice.
He had a deep, resonant voice.
Tenía una voz profunda y resonante.
He had a deep, resonant voice. She had a graceful neck.
She had a graceful neck.
Tenía un cuello elegante.
She had a graceful neck. The lungs help us breathe.
The lungs help us breathe.
Los pulmones nos ayudan a respirar.
The lungs help us breathe. He had broad shoulders.
He had broad shoulders.
Tenía hombros anchos.
He had broad shoulders. Her hair flowed like silk.
Her hair flowed like silk.
Su cabello flotaba como la seda.
Her hair flowed like silk. The stomach digests food.
The stomach digests food.
El estómago digiere los alimentos.
The stomach digests food. His feet were weary after a long hike.
His feet were weary after a long hike.
Sus pies estaban cansados después de una larga caminata.
His feet were weary after a long hike. She had a freckle on her nose.
She had a freckle on her nose.
Tenía una peca en la nariz.
She had a freckle on her nose. The spine provides structural support.
The spine provides structural support.
La columna proporciona soporte estructural.
The spine provides structural support. He clenched his fists in frustration.
He clenched his fists in frustration.
Apretó los puños con frustración.
He clenched his fists in frustration. Her laughter was infectious.
Her laughter was infectious.
Su risa era contagiosa.
Her laughter was infectious. The skin is the body's largest organ.
The skin is the body's largest organ.
La piel es el órgano más grande del cuerpo.
The skin is the body's largest organ. He had a stubble on his chin.
He had a stubble on his chin.
Tenía una barba incipiente en la barbilla.
He had a stubble on his chin. She had a slender waist.
She had a slender waist.
Tenía una cintura delgada.
She had a slender waist. The liver detoxifies the body.
The liver detoxifies the body.
El hígado desintoxica el cuerpo.
The liver detoxifies the body. His eyebrows furrowed in concentration.
His eyebrows furrowed in concentration.
Sus cejas se fruncieron en concentración.
His eyebrows furrowed in concentration. She had a dimple on her cheek.
She had a dimple on her cheek.
Tenía un hoyuelo en la mejilla.
She had a dimple on her cheek. The kidneys filter waste from the blood.
The kidneys filter waste from the blood.
Los riñones filtran los desechos de la sangre.
The kidneys filter waste from the blood. He scratched his head, puzzled.
He scratched his head, puzzled.
Se rascó la cabeza, desconcertado.
He scratched his head, puzzled. Her ankles were adorned with bracelets.
Her ankles were adorned with bracelets.
Sus tobillos estaban adornados con pulseras.
Her ankles were adorned with bracelets. The intestines aid in digestion and nutrient absorption.
The intestines aid in digestion and nutrient absorption.
Los intestinos ayudan en la digestión y la absorción de nutrientes.
The intestines aid in digestion and nutrient absorption. His arms were strong from lifting weights.
His arms were strong from lifting weights.
Sus brazos estaban fuertes por levantar pesas.
His arms were strong from lifting weights. She stood on her tiptoes to reach the top shelf.
She stood on her tiptoes to reach the top shelf.
Se puso de puntillas para llegar al estante superior.
She stood on her tiptoes to reach the top shelf. The nose detected various scents.
The nose detected various scents.
La nariz detectó varios olores.
The nose detected various scents. His lips quivered with emotion.
His lips quivered with emotion.
Sus labios temblaron de emoción.
His lips quivered with emotion. She had a birthmark on her arm.
She had a birthmark on her arm.
Tenía una marca de nacimiento en el brazo.
She had a birthmark on her arm. The muscles allowed him to move.
The muscles allowed him to move.
Los músculos le permitían moverse.
The muscles allowed him to move. He massaged his temples to relieve stress.
He massaged his temples to relieve stress.
Se masajeó las sienes para aliviar el estrés.
He massaged his temples to relieve stress. She wore a bracelet around her wrist.
She wore a bracelet around her wrist.
Llevaba un brazalete alrededor de su muñeca.
She wore a bracelet around her wrist. The ears captured sounds from the environment.
The ears captured sounds from the environment.
Los oídos captaban sonidos del entorno.
The ears captured sounds from the environment. He hugged her tightly with his arms.
He hugged her tightly with his arms.
Él la abrazó fuertemente con sus brazos.
He hugged her tightly with his arms. She balanced on one foot in yoga.
She balanced on one foot in yoga.
Se balanceaba sobre un pie en yoga.
She balanced on one foot in yoga. The tongue helped taste and swallow food.
The tongue helped taste and swallow food.
La lengua ayudaba a saborear y tragar la comida.
The tongue helped taste and swallow food. His hands were calloused from hard work.
His hands were calloused from hard work.
Sus manos estaban encallecidas por el trabajo duro.
His hands were calloused from hard work. She tapped her fingers rhythmically on the table.
She tapped her fingers rhythmically on the table.
Golpeó rítmicamente con los dedos sobre la mesa.
She tapped her fingers rhythmically on the table. The teeth chewed and tore food.
The teeth chewed and tore food.
Los dientes masticaban y desgarraban la comida.
The teeth chewed and tore food. He had a scar on his knee from a childhood fall.
He had a scar on his knee from a childhood fall.
Tenía una cicatriz en la rodilla de una caída infantil.
He had a scar on his knee from a childhood fall. She wiggled her toes in the sand.
She wiggled her toes in the sand.
Movió los dedos de los pies en la arena.
She wiggled her toes in the sand. The backbone provided stability.
The backbone provided stability.
La columna vertebral proporcionó estabilidad.
The backbone provided stability. He held his breath in anticipation.
He held his breath in anticipation.
Contuvo la respiración con anticipación.
He held his breath in anticipation. She twirled a strand of hair around her finger.
She twirled a strand of hair around her finger.
Hizo girar un mechón de cabello alrededor de su dedo.
She twirled a strand of hair around her finger. The pulse throbbed in his wrist.
The pulse throbbed in his wrist.
El pulso latía en su muñeca.
The pulse throbbed in his wrist. He raised an eyebrow skeptically.
He raised an eyebrow skeptically.
Levantó una ceja con escepticismo.
He raised an eyebrow skeptically. She cracked her knuckles absent-mindedly.
She cracked her knuckles absent-mindedly.
Hizo crujir los nudillos distraídamente.
She cracked her knuckles absent-mindedly. The skin felt smooth to the touch.
The skin felt smooth to the touch.
La piel se sentía suave al tacto.
The skin felt smooth to the touch. He pointed with his index finger.
He pointed with his index finger.
Señaló con el dedo índice.
He pointed with his index finger. She blushed, her cheeks turning pink.
She blushed, her cheeks turning pink.
Ella se sonrojó, sus mejillas se sonrojaron.
She blushed, her cheeks turning pink. The spine was aligned and straight.
The spine was aligned and straight.
La columna estaba alineada y recta.
The spine was aligned and straight. He closed his eyes to relax.
He closed his eyes to relax.
Cerró los ojos para relajarse.
He closed his eyes to relax. She took a deep breath to calm down.
She took a deep breath to calm down.
Ella respiró hondo para calmarse.
She took a deep breath to calm down. The pulse quickened in excitement.
The pulse quickened in excitement.
El pulso se aceleró por la emoción.
The pulse quickened in excitement. He scratched his beard thoughtfully.
He scratched his beard thoughtfully.
Se rascó la barba pensativamente.
He scratched his beard thoughtfully. She shook her head in disbelief.
She shook her head in disbelief.
Ella sacudió su cabeza en incredulidad.
She shook her head in disbelief. The joints allowed for movement.
The joints allowed for movement.
Las articulaciones permitían el movimiento.
The joints allowed for movement. He flexed his biceps to show off his muscles.
He flexed his biceps to show off his muscles.
Flexionó sus bíceps para mostrar sus músculos.
He flexed his biceps to show off his muscles. She crossed her legs elegantly.
She crossed her legs elegantly.
Cruzó las piernas con elegancia.
She crossed her legs elegantly. The skin tanned in the sun.
The skin tanned in the sun.
La piel bronceada al sol.
The skin tanned in the sun. He tilted his head to the side in curiosity.
He tilted his head to the side in curiosity.
Inclinó la cabeza hacia un lado con curiosidad.
He tilted his head to the side in curiosity. She tapped her foot impatiently.
She tapped her foot impatiently.
Golpeó su pie con impaciencia.
She tapped her foot impatiently. The spine curved gently.
The spine curved gently.
La columna se curvó suavemente.
The spine curved gently. He covered his ears to block the noise.
He covered his ears to block the noise.
Se tapó los oídos para bloquear el ruido.
He covered his ears to block the noise. She raised her chin with confidence.
She raised her chin with confidence.
Ella levantó la barbilla con confianza.
She raised her chin with confidence. The heartbeat was steady and strong.
The heartbeat was steady and strong.
El latido del corazón era constante y fuerte.
The heartbeat was steady and strong. He massaged his sore neck.
He massaged his sore neck.
Se masajeó el cuello dolorido.
He massaged his sore neck. She bent at the waist to touch her toes.
She bent at the waist to touch her toes.
Se dobló por la cintura para tocarse los dedos de los pies.
She bent at the waist to touch her toes. The skin had a healthy glow.
The skin had a healthy glow.
La piel tenía un brillo saludable.
The skin had a healthy glow. He had a twitch in his eye from stress.
He had a twitch in his eye from stress.
Tenía un tic en el ojo por el estrés.
He had a twitch in his eye from stress. She furrowed her brow in concentration.
She furrowed her brow in concentration.
Ella frunció el ceño en concentración.
She furrowed her brow in concentration. The bones form the body's framework.
The bones form the body's framework.
Los huesos formaban la estructura del cuerpo.
The bones form the body's framework. He rolled his shoulders to relieve tension.
He rolled his shoulders to relieve tension.
Movió los hombros para aliviar la tensión.
He rolled his shoulders to relieve tension. She gestured with her hands as she spoke.
She gestured with her hands as she spoke.
Hizo un gesto con las manos mientras hablaba.
She gestured with her hands as she spoke. The skin bruised easily upon impact.
The skin bruised easily upon impact.
La piel se magullaba fácilmente con el impacto.
The skin bruised easily upon impact. He shrugged his shoulders nonchalantly.
He shrugged his shoulders nonchalantly.
Se encogió de hombros con indiferencia.
He shrugged his shoulders nonchalantly. She twisted her ankle while running.
She twisted her ankle while running.
Se torció el tobillo mientras corría.
She twisted her ankle while running. The heart rate increased during exercise.
The heart rate increased during exercise.
La frecuencia cardíaca aumentó durante el ejercicio.
The heart rate increased during exercise. He pursed his lips in thought.
He pursed his lips in thought.
Frunció los labios pensando.
He pursed his lips in thought. She stomped her foot in frustration.
She stomped her foot in frustration.
Ella pisoteó su pie en frustración.
She stomped her foot in frustration. The skin could feel the warmth of the sun.
The skin could feel the warmth of the sun.
La piel podía sentir el calor del sol.
The skin could feel the warmth of the sun. He clenched his jaw in anger.
He clenched his jaw in anger.
Apretó la mandíbula con ira.
He clenched his jaw in anger. She crossed her arms defensively.
She crossed her arms defensively.
Se cruzó de brazos a la defensiva.
She crossed her arms defensively. The blood vessels carried nutrients and oxygen.
The blood vessels carried nutrients and oxygen.
Los vasos sanguíneos transportaban nutrientes y oxígeno.
The blood vessels carried nutrients and oxygen. He scratched an itch on his back.
He scratched an itch on his back.
Se rascó un picor en la espalda.
He scratched an itch on his back. She fluttered her eyelashes flirtatiously.
She fluttered her eyelashes flirtatiously.
Ella agitó sus pestañas con coquetería.
She fluttered her eyelashes flirtatiously. The skin broke out in a rash due to allergies.
The skin broke out in a rash due to allergies.
La piel estalló en una erupción debido a las alergias.
The skin broke out in a rash due to allergies. He shook his head to clear his thoughts.
He shook his head to clear his thoughts.
Sacudió la cabeza para aclarar sus pensamientos.
He shook his head to clear his thoughts. She tapped her fingernails on the table.
She tapped her fingernails on the table.
Golpeó las uñas sobre la mesa.
She tapped her fingernails on the table. The heartbeat could be felt in the chest.
The heartbeat could be felt in the chest.
El latido del corazón se podía sentir en el pecho.
The heartbeat could be felt in the chest. He rested his head on his hand in boredom.
He rested his head on his hand in boredom.
Apoyó la cabeza en la mano con aburrimiento.
He rested his head on his hand in boredom. She blinked her eyes to moisten them.
She blinked her eyes to moisten them.
Parpadeó para humedecerlos.
She blinked her eyes to moisten them. The skin's elasticity decreased with age.
The skin's elasticity decreased with age.
La elasticidad de la piel disminuyó con la edad.
The skin's elasticity decreased with age. He rubbed his hands together in anticipation.
He rubbed his hands together in anticipation.
Se frotó las manos con anticipación.
He rubbed his hands together in anticipation. She raised her hand to ask a question.
She raised her hand to ask a question.
Levantó la mano para hacer una pregunta.
She raised her hand to ask a question. The body's systems worked in harmony to sustain life.
The body's systems worked in harmony to sustain life.
Los sistemas del cuerpo trabajaban en armonía para sostener la vida.
The body's systems worked in harmony to sustain life.